So I've said it for years. If you let them ban AR-15s, they'll be trying to ban handguns next. And if you let them ban handguns, they'll be trying to ban knives next. And people always say that I'm crazy or just fear-mongering. But it's simple deductive reasoning. More people are killed with handguns and knives than AR-15s. So if you're trying to ban AR-15s under the guise of saving lives, what's to stop them from using the same justification to ban handguns and knives next? The answer is nothing. But for those that lack such levels of deductive reasoning, allow me to direct your attention to what they are talking about in the UK right now.
But why is the UK taking the step to ban such items? Because knife attacks are on the rise in the country. Between March 2021 and March 2022, there were about 45,000 attacks using knives or sharp instruments. 45,000 attacks in a year. 870 people were murdered in the UK during that period. Knives were the murder weapon in about 40% of those killings. They're a serious problem in the UK, and the government is now trying to curb their use.
The UK government made an announcement this week. They're cracking down on large knives, like machetes and the so-called zombie knives. The government says they're being used by violent criminals in knife attacks. The move to ban machetes and zombie knives is part of a crackdown on knife crime. A lot of these knife attacks are committed by minors. Minors were the culprits in about 18% of all UK knife attacks between March 2021 and March 2022. The UK government knows that these knives are on e-commerce platforms. It's been talking about this problem since 2016. The government even brought a law that year to help police confiscate zombie knives. But the existing rules have some gaping loopholes. Under the 2016 law, police can confiscate zombie knives in private homes if they meet 3 criteria. They must have a cutting edge, a serrated edge, and images or words that suggest it is to be used for the purpose of violence. All 3 conditions must be met for the police to confiscate them. It's a pretty easy loophole to get around.
Now, there's 2 things I want you to keep in mind. The first one being that right now, shop.mrcolionnoir.com, these premium embroidered hoodies are available. Right now, I'm wearing the AR-15s are protected by the Second Amendment. They also come in the need money for guns and need money for pew-pew design that I'm wearing right now in this hat. And we have a bunch of other designs as well as other classic designs for our premium embroidered hoodies. So pause the video real quick, head over to shop.mrcolionnoir.com, get you some hoodies, get you a hat, come back on over, and I'll tell you the other thing I want you to keep in mind. Now, the second thing I want you to keep in mind is that in 1988, after a mass shooting, the UK passed the Firearm Amendment Act of 1988, which banned semi-automatic rifles like the AR-15. Then in 1997, after another mass shooting, they passed the 1997 Firearm Amendment Act, which essentially banned the private possession of handguns in Great Britain. Then in 2019, they banned the possession of, and I kid you not, zombie knives, along with a bunch of other types of knives.
Now being used by gangs on the streets of Britain. These just some of the knives seized in raids in the West Midlands.
These officers are now carrying out searches like this every few weeks and say they regularly find knives, drugs and even firearms.
For some, zombie knives are collector's items and they're widely available on the internet for as little as £10. But from Thursday, anyone selling, making or importing the knives will face up to 4 years in prison. 17-year-old Jay Whiston was stabbed to death at a party 4 years ago. His mum welcomes the ban.
Why would anybody want to walk around and go to the supermarket or wash their car on their drive and have somebody come up and threaten them with a knife? You know, we've got to be aware as adults and as parents, and we all have to play a part in this. We can't just leave it to the police. We can't just leave it to the prison service. This now is our time to clean the streets as decent human beings should.
And even after all of this, they're now crying about a loophole in the zombie knife ban. Now, how is this any different than what we're trying to do right now in the United States when it comes to AR-15s? They talk about AR-15s in the US like they're talking about knives right now in the UK. This feature, if you have that feature, then it is banned. If it doesn't have this feature, it's not banned. But then when we don't have that feature, oh, then it's a loophole. So we have to add that feature so that we can ban this thing that bans that. It's the same shit. The only reason we're not having the same conversation about knives in the US, though, is because we have this pesky little thing called the Second Amendment, which they don't have in the UK. So it makes it almost impossible for our government to unilaterally ban ban guns. Instead, they have to trick the public into giving up their Second Amendment right by selling them the idea that they can legislate a way to absolute safety. But the only thing you can get from trying to legislate your way to absolute safety is absolute tyranny. Look at the UK now. They went from owning any gun they wanted to barely being able to own a kitchen knife. Now, guess what they're likely to start doing when they close this zombie knife loophole? Before you know it, the people in the UK will be cutting their biscuits with paper knives because plastic knives are causing global warming. You can't legislate mortality. If criminals who aren't supposed to have guns are shooting people, let the good people being shot at arm themselves so that they can protect themselves. When American allies are being shot at by other countries, what do? Do we tell them no, they can't have guns for themselves? No, we send them billions of dollars so that they can go buy guns to protect themselves. Taking away people's ability to protect themselves in hopes that it also disarms the criminals just makes the people better victims. Depending on the government for your personal safety by giving up your 2A rights is no different than being someone's bitch in prison. Sure, they'll tell you that they'll protect you from everyone else, but who's going to protect you from them? It amazes me every time I hear people say, oh, I don't trust the government, but then beg for the same government to take away their right to effectively defend themselves. This is kooky behavior. Yet every year they sell you the same song and dance. We need to take your guns away to keep you safe. And so many people buy into this lie. They can't keep you safe. How can they? They don't even live where you live. They can barely hire enough police to keep the country running, much less get to you in time if you're ever attacked. We live in a country where people will shout, defund the police on Monday, then ban the guns on Tuesday, then they're robbed on Wednesday, and then start screaming, where were the police on Thursday, only to try and buy a gun on Friday, and then be mad on Saturday because they forgot they voted for a 3 business day waiting period before they can buy a gun. I mean, come on, people. In the words of the greatest basketball player in the world,
stop it. Get some help.
So no. This is not just going to stop at banning AR-15s. We have a real-world example of a country that started with these semi-automatic rifles, then went to the handguns, and now they're trying to ban knives. This isn't me speaking theoretically. It's literally happening right here in front of your face. And then after they ban knives, he's still complaining about the fact that there's a loophole. So miss me with this talk that I'm propagandizing this whole gun discussion and I'm just making up stuff. You can watch it right across the pond. Make sure you share this video with those same people who say things like, oh, this is crazy. They're not ever gonna come and try to ban the handguns or try to ban knives or anything like that. Show them this video and let them know that's literally what's happening right now. And then don't forget to like the video and leave a comment telling me what you think. And then also head over to shop.mrcolion and pick up one of our premium embroidered hoodies like I mentioned at the beginning of the video. And of course, subscribe to the channel and then click the bell symbol in the drop-down menu so that you get notified anytime I release a video.